Sometimes the most amazing stories aren't in the big, famous history books. They're hidden, pieced together from old records. Things like census data, forgotten newspaper clippings, and old photos. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to rebuild the story of a very unique house and the absolutely extraordinary family that called it home. And this quote right here from a 95-year-old resident back in 2013 really kicks off the whole mystery. He remembers the house, this weird 8-sided building. But how it disappeared, that's a total blur. I mean, how does a house that unique just vanish from a town's memory? So, yeah, that's our big question. What happened to the house? And maybe more importantly, who were the people living inside? We're going to follow the clues and really uncover their story. Okay, so our story has to start with the house itself, this really unusual 2-story octagon home, and the family that would become its one and only long-term residence, the Evans family. And here they are around 1906. Just look at them. You can really see the pride on their faces, posing outside their one-of-a-kind home. It's like a perfect snapshot of life at the turn of the century, a family, a home, and what looks like a pretty simple, ordinary future ahead of them. But then you jump forward 40 years, and this is what's left. Nothing. The house, the landmark, the family home, it's just gone. Just an empty lot, a memory so faint that neighborhood kids are using it for a ball field. The difference is just so stark. And it really makes you wonder, what on earth happened? To figure this out, we've got to go back to the beginning. And our first real clue, well, it comes from a public record that paints a surprisingly clear picture: the 1905 census. So this census record basically gives us our cast of characters. You've got Gabriel, a miller by trade, and his wife, Mabel. Their daughter, Esther, is a telephone operator, which was a pretty modern job for back then. Then there's 16-year-old Blanche and 8-year-old Henry. On paper, they look like the picture of an average American family. But that ordinary life was about to be completely shattered by one single catastrophic event. And it all started with something as innocent as a childhood game. Wow. Look at this headline from the local paper just a few years later. The all caps, the blunt language, it just screams that something absolutely terrible has happened. And just like that, the focus of our story shifts to young Henry Evans. The newspaper lays out this horrifying chain of events. So Henry, he's 13 now, and he's playing fire company with his friends. To make it feel more real, they light some paper on fire in a pail. And then comes the terrible decision. Henry grabs a can of gasoline to make the fire bigger. The flame just leaps from the pail to the can in his hand. In a total panic, he spins around, and in doing so, splashes that burning fuel all over his own back. His clothes just instantly go up in flames. The accident was just awful. Doctors gave Henry very little chance of even surviving. But what came next was a story of recovery so unbelievable, it's honestly hard to wrap your head around. 486. That's a number that doesn't mean much on its own, right? But that's the number of square inches of Henry's body that were burned. That's almost 4 square feet. Now, back then, burns covering just a third of your body were considered fatal. His were estimated at 2/3. His survival seemed, well, impossible. His road back was just grueling. His own father, Gabriel, donated so much skin for the first grafts that he actually got sick from it. And when Henry needed more, the whole community stepped up. A newspaper article from 1910 reported, with this sort of dark fascination, that Henry was now, and I quote, made up of a great many prominent personages. Doctors, lawyers, students, they all donated skin to save this boy's life. After almost 18 months of unimaginable pain, he finally got to go home. But the fire, as life-changing as it wasn't the only intense drama to play out inside the Octagon house. There was also this quiet, powerful story unfolding between the two Evans sisters. So, in 1917, tragedy hit the family again. The older sister, Esther, died right there in the family home. She was only 32, and according to family stories, she had a dying request. She wanted her younger sister, Blanche, to marry her husband, George. And less than a year later, Blanche did it. She fulfilled that promise. It's just an incredible story of loss and loyalty all happening at 7 Athens Street. And, despite all of this hardship, life just kept going. Henry, the boy who wasn't supposed to live, he grew up, became a truckman, and even started his own family right there in the other half of the house. Gabriel and Mabel, they stayed active in the community, and they celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary at the house in 1928. For more than 20 years after the fire, the Evans family just kept on living their lives in that Octagon house. So this brings us right back to our original question. After holding so much life, so much drama, so much history, what in the world finally happened to the house itself? And the answer, which we found buried in old property maps and records, well, it's surprisingly simple. There was no other fire, no final disaster. Sometime in the early 1940s, long after the Evans family had moved on, the house was just torn down. This 1947 map confirms it. Where that unique octagon once stood, there's just an empty space. The house might be gone, but for 3 decades, it was the silent witness to a truly incredible story. It saw a totally ordinary family face a horrific accident, it saw a community come together for an unbelievable recovery, and it held all the quiet dramas of love, loss, and promises kept. And that kind of leaves you with one final thought. The Octagon house is just an empty lot now. Its whole story almost completely forgotten. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other powerful human stories are hiding right in plain sight in the empty lots and forgotten corners of our own towns, just waiting for someone to find them?